Good evening, everybody. Hope you all had a wonderful weekend. Welcome again to another Monday night of Make It With Me Monday. I'm glad you could join me and make a project with me tonight. Just a couple quick reminders that we are coming up to the end of this catalog season. There's already a posted retirement list regarding this catalog, so making sure that you find that. If you have any questions, just shoot me a message and I will make sure that you guys get a link to it. Remember, for sure, anything with the current in color collection will be headed out, so if you have any of those items, you're going to want to grab those really quick. For the most part, everything now is while supplies last. Hi, Mary Lynn. Thanks for joining me tonight. Anything on the retirement is pretty much while supplies last, especially things that are consumable like paper, accessories, ribbon, and then like things that are manufactured elsewhere like our die sets and our embossing folders. And I know there is eventually a cutoff date for stamp sets themselves, and I will try to figure out when that is, if they told me yet or not. But like I said, if you haven't had a chance to take a look at that retirement list, make sure you do it soon. There should be a link on my page, pinned right at the top of the page to get you to that. Then again, there's, what did I bring this up for? This one, of course, goes through the end of June. You'll see a few. Hi, Kathy. Thanks for joining me tonight. You'll see a few items from this now headed into the next annual catalog, which should be arriving in your mailboxes. Let's see. This one ends May 2nd. And so right near the end of April there is when you guys should be receiving those in your mailboxes. And if you don't get one, be sure and let me know. By about, like I said, I'll check in with you guys all. Hi, Jessie. Thanks for showing up tonight. I'll check in with you guys about the middle of April and keep you posted on when those should be arriving, and just make sure you have them in hand and ready to go when the new fun things come out. So, oh, great, Kathy. I'm glad it showed up today. Thanks for voting on that. If you guys haven't noticed that on Wednesdays, we did Wednesday. There we go. I do post once a week. I post a this or that graphic. You guys choose for me by voting. Sometimes it's a stamp set, sometimes it's paper, an accessory, something. You guys choose what you'd like to see on a project, and then I make that up for the next Wednesday and post that, and then I pick a person who had commented to win it that Wednesday. So congratulations, Kathy. You were the winner of last week's card, which I believe was sunflower based, if I remember correctly. There's currently a vote going for picking a fruit. It's either strawberries or peaches. So that's the current vote running. Hi, Tina. Thanks for coming tonight. All right, so let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to show you first some of the items I'm working with. I'm going to use, again, All Squared Away. I used this last week as well. I'm going to show you a little different take on it. Last week, I definitely focused on pops of color with a black background, just to show you how that really makes a very striking image. And today, I've switched it up a little bit. We're going to be using some of the fun elements from both the stamp set and the dies, and then that is in the annual catalog on page 117. And once again, I'm using my Sweet Symmetry Design Series paper, one of my favorites, and I'm going to be sure to snag a couple more packets of that before it disappears, because I'm going to keep using it even if it's no longer in the catalog. I love it. All right, so let's go ahead and see what we need tonight. We need to have a piece of cardstock that's 4 1/4 by 11, scored at 5 1/2. I'm going to be using just jade. And then I asked you guys to grab the same color and do a piece 3 3/4 by 5. We're just going to do a little bit of lift on dimension on our card tonight, but tone on tone. So you're going to want to have a couple dimensionals handy for that piece as well. Then you want a piece of Designer Series paper that's 1 1/2 by 5, and another piece that is 1 by 5. And both of my pieces, again, come from Sweet Symmetry. And then I said create a focal point approximately 2 by 2 1/2. It doesn't have to be exact, obviously, but just something about that size. You could have taken a punch and punched out a shape. You could just cut a piece of cardstock, which is what I did. I just cut a piece of cardstock 2 by 2 1/2, and then I went ahead and added my imagery. I took one of the background stamps from here and the phrase, and I just stamped and put them right together, and that's going to be my little focal point for that. And then I said if you just have a little bit of ribbon handy, we're just going to make like a little knot or a little bow or something to dress up the front of our card. I'm going to be using this wide gingham. It's jade and white, and it comes in a pack of 3, and this is called the Flowers for Every Season ribbon pack. So you get a twine, you get a lovely linen-y cotton. It's very see-through. It probably doesn't show up well on the camera there. But this one, and then this really cute jade checked, and you get them all 3 together. And that's in the annual catalog and probably had it on its way out because those are retiring colors. So, alrighty, let's get started. So first you're gonna wanna just take your card base and get that nice and crisp on your crease and just set that aside. You're gonna go ahead and grab that 3 3/4 by 5 piece. We're gonna go ahead and decorate the whole thing up before we mount it on here. That way, in case you have any issues or errors, you're not taking it apart from your whole card base and everything. Okay, now between these two pieces, you have a couple options. You can use one on top of the other, like this, or one to the side, one to the side. If you want the larger one to be the more of the focal point, you go ahead and layer this way. You can also decide to, do you want it on the side, on the left, on the right? You could do down the middle. You could do all the way to an edge. Okay, so there's lots and lots and lots and lots of options. So go ahead and figure out in your head maybe kind of what you want. And I'm gonna skip ahead a little bit. I don't normally do this, but I'm gonna show you guys a couple of the pieces that I'm basing this off of. So this was my inspiration piece. Here's one of my samples where I've taken it and I've put it off to the right, and I've used just a little bit of the foil in place of one of the DSPs. Hi Amanda, good to see you tonight. As my little skinny piece. And then here's another one I did. I pushed it all the way over to the edge, and there's just a little bit of the other one showing up underneath, okay? So like I said, there's several different options we can do. This sample one right now, I tell you what, I'm gonna go ahead and just take and do down the middle, because that's one option I didn't do ahead of time on any kind of a sample. So like I said, it was something like that. You could do just down the middle of each other, and then again, place to the left, the right, or if you want that in the middle, depending on how big your thing is. So I'm gonna go ahead and do mine completely down the middle, because I have a nice square shape there. Okay, so that was a lot to take in. Hi, Mary, good to see ya. Always a pleasure. And don't worry, even if you don't make it live, you know you can always watch me later. It'll stay here on the page, and I always do a video link to YouTube. So even if when you guys are on there, you can save that as a favorite or something like that, and I'll always have a reference for it. Okay, so like I said, I'm gonna go ahead and put my pieces together like so. And like I said, if you wanna do yours with the overlaps, whatever you're gonna do. And then I'm gonna place mine right down the middle of my 3 3/4 by 5 piece. So this particular on-camera sample is gonna look completely different than any of the other samples I brought. I like the versatility of these pieces going together different ways. It's gonna be really, really cool. Okay, then what I'm gonna do with my ribbon, which I put way off to the side for some reason. Depending on the width of your ribbon, you can do a couple different things. Like I said, tie a bow, make a knot. You can attach it to your little focal point. For this one, I'm gonna wrap it around the middle. So I'm gonna do that before it's laid down. And then this guy's gonna sit on top of it. So it's gonna kind of have the crisscross option, okay? So like I said, lots and lots and lots of different ways to think about using these pieces together. All right, so I'm just gonna go ahead and do my ribbon. So think about what you guys wanna do. Tie yourself a knot, tie yourself a bow. Again, use it as a piece behind something. Grab my scissor and just do a little trim off. And another glue dot. We're just hiding there. Okay. All right, so there is my ribbon. Okay, so now I've kind of made this almost like present looking piece, right? And then I'm gonna go ahead and take my focal point. This one I'm also gonna add dimensionals to. That's your choice. We're already gonna be using dimensionals on the back of this. So if you don't want it to be sticking up too high, then go ahead and just lay that flatly directly on your piece. And because I have that ribbon going across, I'm gonna avoid putting one here because it might not stick to that ribbon really well. And I wanna make sure these guys are wide enough apart that that ribbon's gonna float right through them, and I don't have to worry about it. It's going to stick better to my cardstock than it is to my ribbon. All right, so there is that. Okay, and once you've got your 3 3/4 piece all decorated up the way you like, then we're going to go ahead and do some dimensionals. Now on a piece this big, I do like to use a larger one for sure in the middle, and you can do either one or two kind of in the middle area. And then I do use just my little guys for the corners. I think they're good enough. And holding those down. But like I said, on a big piece like this, I like something in the middle because otherwise you might get a little saggy or something like that, and we don't want a saggy card. All right. Oh my goodness. Always the fun part. Picking off these little pieces of your dimensionals. All right. And this should center with a nice wide border because it's about one step down from what I would normally do as a layer. All right, so there you go, guys. That is it for tonight. That is our version, my version, I should say, of what I gave you guys to cut tonight. And I'm going to go ahead and bring in those other samples. Now, first I'll show you the stepped up version of this. I used the exact same pieces. So I do have the same pieces of designer series paper. I have the same background piece, and I changed up the focal point a little bit. So what I did was I took, you can see the focus is mostly on that larger piece of the jade designer series paper, and there's just a tiny little bit of the other flower peeking out. I went ahead and used my jade ribbon on the top of the tag. I know, Mom, I love this combo too, and it all comes from that designer series paper. So the jade and the coral and the navy blue that's in there. Oh my gosh, those colors are so pretty together. I absolutely love them. I went ahead and cut a piece of cardstock about the size, the 2 by 2.5. I think I actually started with 3 inches because then I stuck it in my tag topper punch, my fancy tag topper punch. So I punched off a little bit of it, and then I punched the slit that does that already automatically for you. And then I put the ribbon through that, and I did the same thing here with the background circles. This is stamped directly on. This one is stamped off once first, so that's why it's a lot paler. And then I used the dies that I showed you before, and I just die cut out another piece of white and laid it over the top of where I had stamped that on the tag. So really fun. Oh, and then I also did a little bit of the splatter embossing folder. Hopefully this will show up better on the photo than it might on here. That's in the mini catalog. You get 2 of them together. One's a stripes and one's a splatter. So they're those little 3-inch wide ones that fit really nice in the mini boss. Don't forget that is still discounted for this month. If you want to get a start on how die cutting might work for you, that's a great place to start. Very low investment, and you can fit a lot of things through there that you might not think about, so you still have a great chance to use most of the dies you already have. You might have to just get a couple new embossing folders if you really like those, but great investment when it's on sale this month. And then I went ahead and added a little more to the inside, another little piece of the designer series paper. So that is the stepped up version of there. I'll go ahead back and show you these guys. This one uses the Expressions in Ink designer series paper, and instead of another DSP, I chose to use the gold foil because I wanted to pick up where those metallic gold threads run through that designer series paper. I think that's just the coolest. And I used my tailored tag punch, and I used a little bit of gold shimmer ribbon, and I forgot to write down the name of my stamp set, so I'll make sure that gets onto, it's the one that goes with the slimline card, Slim Sayings, I think. That's going to be in the mini catalog. And I used the Magenta Madness. This is one of the exiting in colors. So we've got one there. We've got the jade here. So there's a couple of them showing through for you guys. In case you, again, fell in love with those, you're going to want to grab those before they disappear. This one here, instead of doing something like embossing to the background, I actually just used a large image and stamped it tone on tone. This is Garden Green, and it's the Blessings of Home stamp set and the Heart and Home designer series paper. And I took my blending brush and a little bit of the Garden Green ink, and I went over this piece a little bit because I wanted to be not quite so stark white and have this pop off more. Then I added the Pale Papaya ribbon, very similarly to how I did this one. And this is the Label Me Lovely punch. And so the Blessings of Home is in the mini, the iridescent rhinestones are in the mini, and the DSP is in the mini. The rest comes from the annual catalog. And this was my inspiration piece. It was sent to me in a swap. Similar, like I said, similar layout. I like the Stitch So Sweetly die she used here. She used some of the little sea glass gems that are in the mini catalog. And I love this dark evergreen. There we go. Evening evergreen color. So lots of versatile ways you can use this kind of concept with a couple strips of designer series paper. Different ways, like I said, you focus on the larger or the smaller, and then, like I said, where you place it, to the left, to the right, down the middle, all kinds of really great options with this. And it's using very little designer series paper. You've only got 1 inch or 1.5 inches wide. So small cuts, you can do this really great with some of your leftovers. Yeah, I think that was it. I feel like I rushed my verbiage a lot tonight. So sorry if it was a little, I don't know, what's the word, verbal vomity, because kind of what I'm thinking. Apparently I felt very chatty this evening, and it went by really fast. Alrighty, so I hope you guys enjoyed this layout tonight. Feel free to share what you created on the page under where I post the video or where I post the samples or whatever you need. I would love to see what you chose to create with what you've got in your place. All right, everybody, thank you so much for joining me tonight, and I can't wait to see you all again next Monday. Have a great week, everybody. Thanks again for coming.